Hello everybody, and thank you so much for joining me for yet another practice test. Let's just dive right into it. This is practice test number 2, the calculator section of the Princeton review guide that I have linked down in the description below. So with that, let's just dive right in. If the function g is defined by g of x, what is the value of g of negative 5? Alright, so we just simply need to plug in negative 5 for x. We have 3 times negative 5 plus 5. That's negative 15 plus 5, plus 5, which is negative 10. So our answer is choice B. Number 2, number of light bulbs. So we have a table. According to the table above, 100-watt bulbs made up what fraction of working light bulbs? Okay, so this is just a simple fraction. Remember, fractions are part over total. Okay, and we want to know what 100-watt bulb made up the fraction of working light bulbs. So the total of working light bulbs is 3614, and the number of those which are 100 watt is 2,384. So our answer for number 2 is choice B. Number 3, the expression 4n minus 5 times 5n minus 4 is equivalent to which of the following? So here we have two terms that are being multiplied, so we're going to have to FOIL these. So first times the first, that's of course 20n squared. So we can already mark out C and D. And then notice this. Our last times the last, negative 5 times negative 4, is going to be plus 20. So our answer we can already deduce is going to be A. Now let's go ahead and finish the problem though. 4n times minus 4 is going to be minus 16n, and minus 5 times 5n is going to be minus 25n. And when you combine those, you do get 41n, so that just confirms A as our answer. Number 4, the ratio of 2.7 over 1.2 is equivalent to the ratio of B over 4.8. What's the value of B? So we have 2.7 over 1.2, and it's equivalent to the ratio of B over 4.8. So notice how that 1.2 times 4 equals 4.8. So that means we can, instead of cross multiplying and solving, we can just multiply 2.7 by 4, and 2.7 times 4 is 10.8. Alright, so number 4 is choice D. Number 5, what is the value of 3mn plus 4 according to the equation above? So in the equation above, notice that our right-hand side, 15mn plus 20, if we took our right-hand side and divided it by 5, if we divided our right-hand side by 5, we would have 3mn plus 4. But what we do to one side, you must do to the other. So 60 divided by 5 is 12. So our answer for number 5 is choice C. Number 6, a high school principal is seeking to determine the likelihood that students in Santana High School will attend the upcoming dance. Which of the following data collection methods is most likely to yield an accurate prediction by the principal? Okay, so the principal, what does the principal need to do before we even get to our answer choices? The principal is looking to figure out how many students at the high school will attend the dance. So the principal needs an accurate pool of data, so he needs to ask as many students at the high school as possible. Okay, so with that, let's read our answer choices. Choice A, polling randomly selected group of 1,500 teenagers in town. That's not going to work. We need to ask students at the school, not just random kids. Choice B, conducting a survey of 180 randomly selected students in the senior class at Santana High School. So this is only asking the senior class. We would prefer to have everyone in the school ask, or a portion of everyone. Choice C, polling a group of 250 randomly selected Santana High School students. Okay, that sounds accurate. Or choice D, posting an internet poll on the high school's website, open only to the students. Okay, so this one isn't the greatest because it's who's going to take the poll? Well, one, just kids who have internet connection, or two, well, let's be realistic. If your school offered a poll, who's going to get on and just take it for fun? No one. The principal needs to just go ask 250 random students. That's the best way to take this poll. Number 7. Okay, number 7 through 9 refers to this little bit of info up here, but let's go ahead and read question 7, and I'll move myself over so I'm not blocking anything. Question 7. If Thomas retired at the end of 1999, what was his salary in the final year? Okay, let's read this bit of information. We're told Thomas was hired for a new job in 1977 with a starting salary of $40K. Beginning in 78, he received an annual raise, increasing his salary by $2,300 each year. Okay, so what would that look like as a function? Well, he starts at $40K, and then we're going to be adding $2,300 every year, and this will equal his total salary, right? And so if he retires at the end of 1999 and he started in 1977, well, then that's 22 years of service. So we're going to have, 40,000 plus 2,300 times 22, and this will give us our total. Okay, so we are using the calculator. Well, this is the calculator section, so if you're doing this at home, you can definitely just plug this in and get the value. I'm going to go ahead and solve these problems without a calculator. So notice that 2,300 times 20, that would just be doubling it and adding a 0. So that would be 46,000. And then looking at my answer choices, we're already at 86,000, and then we need to add a bit more, so the only answer that will make sense is choice A. Great. Number 8. Which of the following must be true given that Thomas's salary after Y years was between 54K and 60K? So very similar problem in terms of solving. So we have 54K is less than what? Well, it's less than his salary, which in the previous problem we figured was $40,000 plus 2,300 times Y, and then it's going to be less than 60K. And we're looking for a value or an inequality where Y is the only thing in the center. So firstly, we can subtract 40K from both sides, and if we subtract 40K, 54 minus 40 is 14K. So 14K is less than 2,300 times Y, which is less than 20K. And then we can divide both sides by 2,300. So again, this is the calculator section. So we can just use a calculator. So I'm going to do that quickly off to the side. 14,000 divided by 2,300 is 6.08. 6.08 and some change. And then 20K divided by 2,300. Let's see what that is. 20,000 divided by 2,300 is 8.69. 8.69. So our answer for number 8 is going to be choice B. So notice that these values aren't 6 and 9 exactly. However, 6.08 is a tiny bit more than 6, and 8.69 is a tiny bit less than 9, so it will still fit into this inequality perfectly. Moving forward, number 9. So let me move myself back over. Okay, number 9. Which of the following graphs could represent Thomas's salary in dollars as a function of the number of years that he worked? So we're looking to represent Thomas's salary as a function. So remember Thomas's salary. What was the function we used? It was $40,000 plus $2,300 times the number of years he worked equaled the total. So notice that this function is a linear function. You know, this is our y equals mx plus b form, where we have 2,300 as our slope, and we have $40,000 as our y-intercept. It's written in a little bit different order, but this is a linear function. And out of A, B, C, and D, only choice B and choice D are linear. However, he doesn't make less money as time goes by. He makes more money. So our answer is, of course, choice B. Number 10. An investor is deciding between two options for a short-term investment. One option has this return rate, and another option has this return rate. After 4 months, how much less is the return given by the linear model than given by the exponential model? So the first highlighted one is, of course, our exponential, and the second is, of course, our linear. So, but to figure out how much less they would make, we need to plug in 4 for t. So for our first option, we know that our return equals 100 times 3 raised to the 4th. 3 to the 4th is 81. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. So we have 100 times 81, which is, of course, 8,100. And for our second option, we have 350 times t, or times 4 in this case. And 350 times 4 is 1,400. So we're asked how much less did they make, so we need to, of course, subtract these values. Bottom number is bigger, so we borrow. 11 minus 4 is 7. 7 minus 1 is 6. So 6,700, our answer is choice C for number 10. Number 11. Given the equation above, which of the following is a possible value of n? Okay, so probably the easiest way to solve this problem is just to plug in the different values for n and to see if our output is 1. So starting with the first one, 7. 7 minus, okay, if we plug in if we plug in 7 for n, 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 22 is 36, so 7 minus the square root of 36. Does this equal 1? Well, this would be 7 minus 6, which is 1. So our first option does work. Let's check out our second option. We have negative 3. So negative 3 minus, okay, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And negative 6 plus 22 is 16. So negative 3 minus the square root of 16. Does this equal 1? Well, the square root of 16 is 4. We have negative 3 minus 4. This is negative 7. This does not equal 1. So this does not work. And our third option, negative 5, we of course have negative 5 minus, if we plug in negative 5 for n, we have negative 10 plus 22, which gives us the square root of 12. And it is pretty clear, since the square root of 12 is not an integer, this will not equal 1. So our only choice is option A, 1 only. Excellent. Moving forward to number 12. Number 12. Okay. Based on the equation above, what is the value of 2x minus 4? Okay, we're looking for 2x minus 4. Our equation is 3x minus 6 equals 5x minus 2. Let's go ahead and solve for x. We can subtract 3x from both sides to give us negative 6 equals 2x minus 2. We can add the 2 to both sides to give us negative 4 equals 2x. We can divide by 2 to give us x equals negative 2. Next, we can plug in negative 2 for our x. So 2 times negative 2 minus 4 equals what? 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 minus 4 is negative 8. Our answer is option A. Excellent. Number 13. Okay, so we have this line of best fit with our scatter plot. And what is our question saying? It says the scatter plot above shows the relationship between gas mileage in miles per gallon and weight in tons for 10 cars. The line of best fit models the gas mileage based on the weight of the car. What is the weight in tons of the car for which the actual gas mileage was closest to the predicted value? Okay, what is the weight in tons? So we're looking for the weight in tons of the car which the actual gas mileage was closer to the predicted value. That's of course going to be the input which is smack right down on the line of best fit. And if we're looking for the weight, well, the weight is halfway between 2 and 3, so 2.5 tons is the weight of the car. Our answer is choice A. Okay, number 14. Number 14. The graph above shows the average weight for the members of a weight loss program. For each month a member was in the program. According to the information in the graph, which of the following must be true? Okay, so let's look at the graph before we read our answer choices. We can see that whenever you first start out, you'll be losing weight the quickest. That makes sense. And then as you continue the program, you'll still lose weight, but it just won't be as quick. So let's see what our answer choices are. Choice A, the average weight loss per month is the same regardless of the number of months. Okay, that's not true. We just saw that if we, in the first few months, you lose more weight. So that's not true that the average weight's the same no matter what. Okay, B, the average weight loss per month for members who are in the program more than 150 months is less than the program who are in the program. Okay, 150 months. Look at our data. It only goes up to 14. Maybe if you read your graph incorrectly, that would make a little bit of sense. But if you're reading your graph correctly, choice B makes little to no sense at all. Okay, choice C. The average weight loss per month for a member who are in the program more than 6 months is less than that for a member who are in the program for less than 6 months. Okay, let's read that again. The average weight loss per month for members who are in the program more than 6 months is less than for members who are in the program less than 6 months. Okay, and what's choice D? The average weight loss per month for members who are in the program more than 6 months is greater than that for members who are in the program less than 6 months. So notice that options C and D are opposites. If you have a question like this and you have two answer choices that are opposites, you can more or less just narrow your choice between these two. If you're not sure, at least choose one of these two, because since they're opposites, one of them has to be correct. In this case, it seems that choice C is correct. Choice C says the average weight loss per month for members who are in the program more than 6 months is less than the average weight loss per month for those who are in the program less than 6 months. And we can see from our graph that you lose more weight in the beginning. And so that means the average weight loss for the people who are in the program for less time is going to be greater. If you're in the program for a longer time, you're going to end up losing more weight. However, your average weight loss will be less. So our answer is choice C for this problem. Continuing on, number 15. Okay, in the figure above, it represents a circular lake with the walking path that is m meters wide. If the expression represents the area of the walking path in square meters, what does the quantity r minus m represent? Okay, so we're looking for what r minus m represent, and we're told that we have a circular lake with a walking path. So if we just go, we see this white circle. This white circle is our lake, and this gray area is our path. That's our path. So we want to know what r minus m represents. We'll notice that the full diameter of everything, of our lake and our walking path, is 2r. So that means r would be the radius, the full radius. And we're asked what r minus m represents. Well, if we have r and we're subtracting m, all we're left with is the radius of the inner white circle. And the radius of the inner white circle would be the radius of our lake, which is option A. Excellent. So that was number 15. On to number 16. Kanaka took 8 tests for her social studies class. Each has a maximum score of 100 and a minimum score of 0. On the 8 tests, Kanaka's mean score, her average score, remember that mean means average, her average score was 90. More than a quarter of her tests have scores less than 85. Okay, if the average of the remaining test is x, which of the following must be true? Okay, so Kanaka took 8 tests. We have test 1, test 2, and then all the way to test 8. And the average of all of these, remember average is adding them all up and then dividing by the number, is 90. And then we're told that for more than a quarter of her test, her average was 85. So a quarter of 8 is 2. So we'll say for at least 3 tests, her average was an 85. However, the average for the other 5 tests, has to be what? Well, the other 5 tests needs an average of greater than a 90 for her overall average to be greater than 90. Again, we're told that the average for all 8 tests is 90. Therefore, if she scored lower on a portion of tests, that means she needed to score way higher on the other portion of test to then influence her total average to be at the 90 which it's at. So our answer for number 16 is choice D. Okay, number 17. A poll of 400 randomly selected voters in Sonoma City was taken to determine the support for a mayoral candidates in the upcoming election. Of the likely voters, 190 stated that they are likely to vote for candidate A. If the conclusion is drawn that approximately 3,120 voters are likely to vote for candidate A, which of the following is closest to the number of likely voters in the city? So how many people will vote in the city? So we're told that there is a poll. There is a poll of 400 people. And in that poll, 190 chose candidate A. And we're told that that tells us that approximately candidate A will have 3,120 votes. And we're asked how many voters there will be. So here we can just set up our proportion. Again, this is the calculator section, so you can use your calculator. I'm going to do my best to do it by hand, but we have 400 times 3,120. So to multiply these, you'll simply double it twice. So if we double it once, what do we get? We get 624, and then we get 1248. Of course, we have a 0, and then 2 more zeros from the 400. Okay, and then we need to divide this big number by 190. However, I'm just going to divide by 200. I'm gonna estimate and divide by 200 instead of 190, as it's a little bit closer. And if we divide by 200, we will get 6,240. And so we can see that the answer that will make sense is choice D for number 17. And if you use your calculator, I'm sure you'd get that exact answer. But if you forget your calculator, don't be too stressed, because you can always use these estimation methods. Number 18. The solution to the system of equations above are a sub 1 and b sub 1 and a sub 2 and b sub 2. What are the following values of b sub 1 and b sub 2? Okay, so we're asked for our b sub 1 and b sub 2, given that the solution to the system are these two different coordinates. So remember that coordinates are always given to you in x comma y. So if we're looking for our b sub 1 and b sub 2, we're looking for our y solutions. We want to know what our solutions of y are. So since we're given that x equals 5, we can just plug in 5 to the equation. We have y squared equals 21 minus 5. 21 minus 5 is, of course, 16. And if we take the square root of 16, we get plus and minus 4. So our answer is option A. Continuing onward to number 19. Number 19, okay, the function p is defined as follows, and function q is defined as follows. Which of the following values is q of 10? Okay, so for this problem, this is a nested function problem, and they're easier than they look. All we're going to do is plug in 10 for x in the function of p, and then our output will tell us what we can plug in for p of x. So if we plug in 10 for the p of x function, we'll have what? So p of 10 equals 10 squared minus 3 times 10, which is 100 minus 30, which is 70. So p of 10 is 70. And so for our q of 10 is going to equal our p of 10 minus 4, which is 70 minus 4, which is 66, choice C. Excellent. Number 20. If c is greater than 0 and m and n are positive integers, which of the following is equivalent to c raised to the m over n? Okay, so this is just knowing your fractional exponent rule. A lot of students have trouble with exponents, but the important thing to remember for fractional exponents is that a fractional exponent, your numerator represents what power your base is raised to, and your denominator represents which root you are taking. So c raised to the m over n power represents the nth root of c raised to the m. So this is choice D. Excellent. Number 21. Number 21, we have this pulley problem. I actually released a short of me solving this problem, so if you saw that, let me know down in the comments below. But let's go ahead and solve this problem again right now. So in the figure above, each pulley added to the pulley system after pulley A reduces the amount of force required to lift an object to 50% of its original amount. If the system has 3 additional pulleys, what would be the approximate force in newtons that is exerted to lift a weight that normally requires 200 pounds of force to lift, given the ratio of 1 newton equals 0.224 pounds? Okay, so let's look at our picture. So our picture tells us we have some weight that's 200 pounds. So initially, if we were just starting out, it would still take 200 pounds of force to use. But with every additional pulley, it's reduced by 50%. So 50% of 200, it's like cutting that value in half. Now it would take 100 pounds of force. And then moving forward, it's you take 50% again, and then 50% again. So in the end, it only takes 25 pounds of force to lift this 200-pound block. However, they're asked for us to determine our answer in newtons, and we know that 1 newton is to 0.224 pounds. And so how many newtons is to 25 pounds, as 25 represents the bottom figure we just found? Okay, here we can just cross multiply and solve. So we have 25 equals 0.224x. And so now we can divide both sides by 0.224. And we'll have x. So again, you can just plug this into your calculator. However, for those students who forgot their calculator and want to know a little bit of workarounds, we can see that 0.224, well, that's approximately 1/4, right? As it's almost 0.25. It's approximately 1/4. And so what is 25 divided by 1/4? Well, 25 divided by 1/4 is simply 25 times 4, which is 100. So our answer, our estimate, is 100, so the only answer that will make sense is choice C. So there you go. Number 22. 22. Okay. What do we have for this one? We have some equation above, Q equals 17.6T. And in the equation above shows the heat energy Q in joules that is absorbed by a 10-gram block of wood as temperature T in degrees Celsius increases. Which of the following best describes the meaning of the number 17.6 in this equation? Okay, so what's happening? So the heat energy Q increases 17.6 for every 1 degree Celsius that's increased in our temperature. So which answer says that? Well, choice C. The energy absorbed by the block of wood with every increase in temperature of 1 degree Celsius, that's what our 17.6 represents. So our answer is choice C. Number 23. What do we have for number 23? We have another graph problem. The calculator section is a lot of data interpretation, and also notice how these problems are more tricky than hard. You have to read them really carefully to understand exactly what's being asked of you, because you don't want to make a careless mistake. And so let's just be aware of that. Always ask yourself, okay, what is the test maker testing me on in this situation? And if you ask yourself that, you can more often than not see all of the tricks they're trying to pull, and then you can better find the solution. So onward to number 23. The graph above represents the reaction rate R at which an unfinished iron nail rusts in water during the first 10 days of an experiment, where D gives time measured in days. What was the total amount of rust produced from d equals 2 to d equals 6. So we want to know the amount of rust produced from d equals 2 to d equals 6. So from 2 to 6, we're paying attention to this, and we can see that the reaction rate is in grams per day. Okay, so you need to read your graph. So the reaction rate is in grams per day. So we can see that from day 2 to 3, we produced 0.8 grams per day, and the same is true for all of these 4 days. In each of these 4 days, we produce 0.8 grams. So from day 2 through day 6, we produced a total of 3.2 grams. So don't read this graph and think your answer is going to be choice A because it's constant at 0.8. You have to really read it carefully, know exactly what's being asked, and get to the right answer choice. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Number 24, we have this triangle problem. We're told that if cosine of theta equals 3/5, what is the value of cosine of 90 degrees minus theta? Okay, so firstly, I want you to notice we're asked for cosine of 90 degrees minus theta. What is 90 degrees minus theta? Well, 90 degrees minus theta is going to be this third angle. Okay, because the triangle has 3 angles, right? And here we have 90 degrees, here we have theta. If the sum of all 3 angle measures is 180 degrees, then 180 degrees is going to equal what? It's going to equal theta plus 90 plus our unknown angle x. And if we were to solve for x, we would subtract 90 from both sides, and we would subtract theta from both sides, and it will be left with 90 minus theta equals x. Okay, so this third angle is going to be our 90 minus theta. So that's something really important to notice here. So let's go ahead and finish solving this problem. So this is a trig problem. With all of our trig problems, we need to remember SOHCAHTOA. Okay, SOHCAHTOA. And with SOHCAHTOA, that's just the mnemonic that they teach to remember that your cosine of theta equals the opposite. I'm sorry. See, this is why you use SOHCAHTOA. It represents our adjacent over our hypotenuse. Okay? And so we're given that cosine of theta is 3/5. So cosine of theta here, our adjacent side, is 3, and our hypotenuse, the long side, must be 5. So what's our second leg here? Well, hey, this is a 3, 4, 5 right triangle, so this must be 4. However, if you don't know your 3, 4, 5 right triangle, you can of course use Pythagorean's theorem to solve it, and you would have a 25 minus 9 is 16, square root of 16 is 4. So so we have this 3, 4, 5 right triangle. We're asked for what is the cosine of 90 minus theta. That's of this third angle, right? So the adjacent side of this third angle is 4. So our cosine of 90 minus theta equals 4 over our hypotenuse of 5. So our answer here is 4/5. There we go. There's how you solve these tricky trig questions. If you were able to solve this one on your own, give yourself a pat on the back. It's one of the harder types of problems for the SAT. So great job, great work, guys. Also, if you're enjoying these videos, please hit that subscribe button. It truly means a ton to me. I am working hard to put these out for you all, and I hope you find them useful. I truly do. I want all of you to get into your dream school. I want all of you guys to succeed. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It truly means a ton. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, number 25. In the system of equation above, K is a constant. If AB is the solution to the system, what is the value of A in terms of K? Okay, so just like in that previous problem where we were solving for B sub 1 and B sub 2, here we're given A and B. So we have to remember this is the coordinate, this is some coordinate x comma y. We're asked for A in terms of K. So we're looking to solve for our x value. That's very important because you can do a lot of work and accidentally solve for your y value. So we want to solve for our x value here because we're asked about A in terms of K. So how can we do this? So we have x plus 7y equals negative 10 and 3x minus 4y equals K. So if I'm going to use elimination method, and if we're wanting to solve for our x value, we want to eliminate our y values. So how can we eliminate our y values here? Well, I'm going to multiply this top equation. I'm going to multiply everything in this top equation by 4/7, and I'm multiplying by 4/7 to change this 7y to a 4y so I can then eliminate my y's. Okay, so 4/7 times x is 4/7x. 4/7 times 7 is going to be plus 4y by design. And then negative 10 times 4/7 is going to be negative 40 over 7. Now I can add my two functions together. Whenever I add my two functions together, what do I get? Well, I'm going to think of 3x, I'm going to think of 3x as what? I'm going to think of 3x as 21 over 7x, just so I can add these more clearly. 21 plus 4 is 25, so this is 25 over 7x. My y's cancel out, and what am I left with? I'm left with k minus 40 over 7. Okay, now lastly, we want to just solve for x. So how can we solve for x? Well, to solve for x, we'll multiply both sides by 7/25. We'll multiply both sides. So again, we want to multiply everything here. We're not going to just multiply one thing. We'll multiply everything by 7/25. So our values over here will cancel, and we'll be left with x equals what? Well, x. This is a lot of algebra. So 7. So we have 7k over 25 minus 7. So this 7 and this 7 will cancel, and we're left with 40 over 25. So our denominators are the same. So we are left with choice D, 7k minus 40 all over 25. Okay, this problem was a doozy. This problem was a doozy. If you're solving these independently and you got this on the first run through, great job. Okay, to quickly recap, we wanted to eliminate our y because we're asked to solve for a in terms of k, and a is the x value of our coordinate. So we eliminated our a, and then we solved for x. Okay, and once we solved for x, we had x in terms of k, and x is really a. X and a are the same thing here. So this problem was a doozy. I mean, it doesn't get any harder than that. So if you solve that problem, excellent job. Number 26. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the unemployment rate in January of 2012 in the United States was 8.3%. According to the same department, the unemployment rate in January of 2016 was 4.9%. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, how did the unemployment rate change from January of 2012 to January of 2016? So in 2012, it was 8.3%, and in 2016, it was 4.9%, and we're asked to see how much did the rate change between the 2 years. Okay, so this is, of course, going to be a proportion problem. This proportion is, it was 8.3%, so that can represent 100, and then it dropped. Okay, so this will be 4.9% over x. Okay, and we want to solve for x. So what's happening here? Well, we can clearly see that from 2012 to 2016, we're decreasing by some amount. So our answer is not going to be D. It didn't increase, it decreased. So we can already eliminate option D. Next, let's just cross multiply and solve. 4.9 times 100 is, of course, 490, and that will equal 8.3x. And then we can just divide. We can divide by 8.3. So divide by 8.3. Again, this is the calculator section. However, you can do this by hand. So let's do it by hand and see what we get. So we can move our decimal over one place and add a 0. So how many times does 83 go into 490? Well, it'll go in 5 times, as 5 times 80 is 400, and 5 times 3 is 15. So this will be 415. Then you subtract. You have 75 left over, and bring down your 0. And then it goes in, it looks like 9 times. 9 times, because 8 times 10 would be 830. And then subtract 80 from that, it would be 750, and subtract 3 more, it would be 747. And we have a remainder of 3. So we have a remainder of 3, so that's 3/83. So it did say kind of approximate, so that's fine that we have a decimal. So notice that, hey, Griffin, we just got 59 for x, and we don't have a 59 here. But hey, we decreased by this amount. We went from 100 to 59. So now we need to do what? Well, we need to subtract 100 from 59. 100 minus 59 is 41. And so we decreased by 41%. Choice B is our answer here. Excellent. Onward to number 27. Number 27. So here it looks like we have some data interpretation. So surprise, surprise. What's number 27 says? It says the dean of the college is comparing the scores from 2 classes and calculates the median for each class. Okay, he's calculating the median. If the dean labels the median score of the physics class P and the median score of the lit class L, what is the sum of P and L? So we're looking for the median of both of these graphs. So the median of a box and whisker graph is just this middle line. So the median for the physics class is 85. Now what about this bar graph? This one's going to be a little bit more work, but we're told that the literature class has 75 students. So the median is just the middle number, right? So what's half of 75? Half of 75 is 37.5. So if we found the middle value, then we would have the median. Okay, so we're just going to count upward or downward to 37.5 and see what that test score is, and then we'll have our median. So let's count downward, as it looks like most of our people are over here. 5 plus 15 is 20. 20 plus 19 is 39. And of course, 39 is greater than 37.5, so our middle number falls within this range. So our median for the lit test results is 90. So going down to our question, we're asked to sum these. And of course, 90 plus 85 is 175. So our answer is option A. Number 28. Number 28. Okay. Here it wants us to construct the Box-and-Whisker plot, which the following box plots most accurately represents the results of the literature test. Okay, so this problem, we need to know how to construct Box-and-Whisker plots. So as I told you in the previous problem, the middle value, right in the middle, represents the overall median. This represents the overall median. Okay, the box on the outsides represents the median of your bottom half and the median of your top half, and then all the way out, your whisker goes out to what? This represents your lowest value, and this represents your highest value. Okay, so Box-and-Whisker plots are all about the median. Again, the center line is the overall median. The lower end of your box represents the bottom half's median, and the upper half of your box represents the upper half's median, and then you have the extremes. So let's go back to our data and see what all of that would be. Okay, so we know that our overall median is 90. So if we want the median of our top half, what would that be? Well, what's 37.5 divided by 2? That's 14.25. So we're looking for the 14th student from both the top and the bottom sides, and that will be the respective upper and lower quartile median. So 5 plus 15 is 20, so of course 14 falls within that range. So the upper, so if we're making our box, it will stop here. And then and it will go out to 100. And then if we're adding up to 14, where do we go? 2 plus 5 is 5, plus 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14. However, it wasn't 14, right? It was 14.25. So that 0.25 will bring it up to this 80. And so our Box-and-Whisker plot will look like this, where our lowest is at 60, our lower quartile median is at 80, our upper is at 95, and our top range is at 100. So this is what our Box-and-Whisker plot would look like here. Let's go down and see which value it is. So for number 28, move me to the side again, it looks like choice A is accurate. Our lower is 60, our upper is 100, our lower median is 80, and our upper median is 95. So if you didn't know how to do Box-and-Whisker plots, that's how you do it. If it was unclear at all, just let me know down in the comments below, and I'll make a video specially about Box-and-Whisker plots. Number 29. In the figure above, lines P and Q are graphed on the xy plane. What is the x-intercept of line Q? Okay, we're looking for the x-intercept of line Q. So we want this value here, right? This value is your x comma 0 for your x-intercept. So how do we solve this problem? Well, we're given 2 points for line P. We can see that it crosses through the origin. Line P has a slope of what? It has a slope of rise 12 over 5. It has a slope. So line P's slope equals 12/5. And notice this. Notice that line Q forms a right angle with line P. Therefore, line Q is perpendicular to line P. So what's a perpendicular slope? Well, it's the negative reciprocal. So line Q's slope is going to equal negative 5/12. So going back to the question, we're asked what is the x-intercept of line Q. So we want to know this point. We want to know this point, or the x-coordinate of that point. So in order to solve for that, we need to know the function of line Q so that we can then plug in 0 for y and solve for our x value. That's what we have to do. And so we just found that the slope of line Q is negative 5/12, and we know that because it's perpendicular to line P. So now we need to find the full function of line Q. Okay, well, we are given one point for line Q. We had this intersection point, and so we can use point slope form to then find our full function. So remember, point slope form is y minus y sub 1. Y sub 1 is 12 in this case, equals our slope, which we found to be negative 5/12, all times our x minus some point for x, which is 5. So now we can continue to simplify. This will simplify to negative 5/12x plus 25 over 12. And we have a y minus 12 here. So we need to add 12 to both sides. I'm going to think of 12 as 144 over 12, just so we can have the same denominator. So whenever I add 12 to both sides, what do I get? I'll switch back to my red, excuse me. So we have y equals negative 5/12 x plus 169 over 12. And we're still not finished. Wow, this practice test might be the hardest one I've done so far. Lots of challenging problems in this practice test. So you're really getting a lot of value here. Again, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Truly appreciate it. Continuing this problem, where do we go from here? So now we have we have line Q in y equals mx plus b form, but we need to know what the x-intercept is. So how do we find the x-intercept from here? Well, to find the x-intercept from here, we need to plug in 0 for y. So if we plug in 0 for y, we have 0 equals negative 5/12x plus 169 over 12. And I'm running out of space. Let me actually go back up. Let me erase a little bit of this. So going back up, we can subtract 169 over 12 from both sides and have negative 169 over 12 equals negative 5/12 x. And then we can multiply both sides by negative 12 over 5 times negative 12 over 5. We're multiplying by the reciprocal of our coefficient over x for it to cancel. And now if we multiply our left-hand side, notice that our negatives will cancel out, and notice that both of these 12s will cancel out. So we're left with 169 fifths equals x. And then notice, hey, what's our answer? Our answer must be choice C. Again, we do have a calculator, but notice how 165 would divide into 5 evenly. So since we have 169 in the numerator, we have a remainder of 4. And so if we have a remainder of 4 and our divisor is 5, 4 fifths is 0.8, and the only answer choice with the 0.8 is C. So our answer is choice C. So this problem was a doozy. Lots of math involved here. You know, I said I said earlier that it doesn't get any harder than that, but this one might have upped that previous problem. So let me know which problem you thought was harder, this problem or the previous one. Let me know down in the comments below. Okay, number 30. Number 30. The equation above represents the graph of a parabola in the xy plane. Okay, so we have a parabola. Which the following represents an equivalent form of the equation that includes the minimum value as a constant. Okay, my highlighter kind of went crazy, but we want the equivalent form of the equation that includes the minimum value of y as a constant. Okay, so for this problem, we want to change what we're given such that we have the minimum value of y as a constant. And you might be thinking, Griffin, what the heck does that mean? But let's just take this step by step. So we have some parabola. So let's just graph a parabola. What will our parabola look like? Well, in the equation given, we see that everything's positive. So we just have a normal positive parabola. So I don't know where my parabola will be, but it will look something like this, right? We at least know that. This is a normal positive parabola. And we're asked to rewrite this equation in a form that includes the minimum value of y as the constant. So what would be the minimum value of y? Well, it would just be this bottom point here. It would be this bottom point here, and it would be some x and some y value. What is this bottom point called? It's called the vertex of your parabola, right? So we want to rewrite our equation in vertex form because vertex form will give us the lowest point of our parabola. And the only equation out of A, B, C, and D that's written in vertex form is option D. So option D is going to be our answer here. Okay, so notice how this problem, it's a hard problem, but it's also an easy problem. You know, we didn't have to do any math. We just had to really dissect what we were being asked, and then we could figure out what the answer is. Now, for those of you who want to know how we could solve this problem, here, let me show you how we can solve this problem algebraically. So again, the first step is just noticing that we want to rewrite our given equation in vertex form. And then choice D is our only answer in vertex form. But what if B was also given in vertex form? Then how could we solve the question? You know, let me go ahead and show you how we can solve it. This is going to be a complete the square problem where we're given y equals x squared plus 16x plus 28. So to convert from vertex form from standard form, we're going to move our number to the other side. We're going to think of y as 0. Think of y as 0. So we have 0 equals x squared plus 16x plus 28. We're going to subtract 28 to both sides, so negative 28 equals x squared plus 16x. And now, to convert to vertex form, we do this thing called completing the square. And you learned this in Algebra 2. But the way to complete the square is to look at the coefficient of your x term, to divide it by 2, and then to square that value. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. And 8 squared is 64. So our next step, we're going to add 64 to both sides. X squared plus 16x plus 64. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we have 64, positive 64 minus 28. And then we simplify. So we have 36 equals what? Well, now the reason we added this 64 is because we're completing the square, and And that just means we can factor this to be x plus 8 squared. And then we can subtract over the 36 and get choice D. So that's how you would solve this problem algebraically. This is a completing the square problem. But like a lot of problems on the SAT, they're just testing to see if you can, they're just testing concepts. So it's more important that you can pull out the language that they're using and know exactly how that influences the problem at hand. So I hope you see that with these types of problems. And we are officially on to the free response questions. Look at that, on to number 31. In the figure above, triangle PQR is similar to triangle XYZ not shown. So we have some similar triangle. So let's just go ahead and sketch it. We have some similar triangle where PQ is to XY, so this would be XYZ. Okay, and we see that PR to XZ is a ratio of 4 to 5. So this would be like 4 and this would be like 5. So our similar triangle is actually larger, figure not drawn to scale, right? And we're asked for what? We're asked for what is the measure in degrees of angle Y. Okay, angle Y is this top angle here, and look at that. So they're giving us this information to kind of throw us off, right? This is just throwing us off. If we have similar triangles, then the angle measures of those triangles are the same. So if we're asked to find what is the angle measure of angle Y, well, it's going to be this angle measure right here. So our answer here is 62 degrees. Simple as that. Simple as that. Number 32. A new homeowner drew a floor plan of her new house in which 1 inch of the floor plan is equivalent to 18 inches. So 1 inch is to 18 inches. If the actual longest side of the floor in one of the bedrooms is 153 inches, what is the length of the longest side of the same bedroom in the floor plan? So here we just need to set a proportion. So we know that 1 inch is to 18 inches. Okay, and if the longest side of, so 1 inch of the floor plan is to 18 real inches. So if the bedroom is 153 real inches, how long is it on the floor plan? So we have our ratio. We're just going to cross multiply. We have 153 equals 18x. We're going to divide by 18. Of course, you have your calculator. I'm just going to divide it by hand though. 18 goes into 153 8 times, I believe. 8 times 10 is 80. 8 times 8 is 64. 80 plus 64 is 144. And we have 9 left over, so we have a remainder of 9. So that's 8 and 9/18, which is, of course, 8.5. So 8.5 is your answer for this number 32. Number 33. What is the number of oops, you guys can't see it. What is the number of pallets, each with an area of 60 square yards, that would be needed to cover a field that is 3 acres in area, given that 1 acre is 4840? Okay. Well, firstly, we need to multiply 4840 by 3 to know how much square yards is 3 acres. So 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry a 1. 3 times 8 is 24 plus 1 is 25. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 2 is 16. Okay, oops, not 16. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 2 is 14. I'll carry this error there, so change that to 14. And then we're asked, what is the number of pallets with an area of 60 square yards? So we need to divide this number. We need to divide this by 60. Okay, so we can chop off our zeros. And I'm going to erase this 3 so it doesn't get in the way. 6 goes into 14 2 times. We'll have 2 left over. 6 goes into 25 4 times. 1 left over. 6 goes into 12 twice. So our answer is 242 pallets will fill the 3 acres of land. Okay, number 34. If b plus 22 over 25 equals 7 over 7/5 b, what is the value of b? Okay, so we have, let's just write it out. B plus 22 over 25 equals our 7/5 b. We can combine like terms, right? We're going to subtract b from both sides. When we subtract b from both sides, we get 22 25ths equals 2/5 b. And then we can multiply both sides by 5/2. And when we multiply both sides by 5/2, we're left with b equals, don't forget to simplify, b equals 11/5. So 11/5 is your answer here. Excellent. Number 35. Number 35. The point P0 lies on a circle in the xy plane. The points 2 and 3.5 and -2 and 1/2 are the endpoints of the diameter of the circle. If p is greater than 0, what is the value of p? Okay, we want to find p, and that's some coordinate that lies on a circle. So I'm going to cover this up and give us some more white space to solve this problem. I'm going to move down here for this problem. So firstly, I would want to draw a picture so I can see exactly what's happening. So let me draw my coordinate. So I have a coordinate and I have points 2 and 3.5 on the circle. So I'll call this 2, and 3.5 would be a little bit higher, so 3.5. And we have point -2, so -2, and +1/2, that would just be up a tiny bit, so that's here. And this represents our diameter of our circle, okay? And we then want to find where P is, given that our y value is 0. So we have some circle, and we might have 2 values for p. However, we're asked for the positive one as p is greater than 0. We have our circle. So how can we figure out what p is? Well, let's first find the center of our circle. If we find the center of our circle, then we can form the equation for our circle, and then we can plug in 0 for y and solve for x to get the value of p. So that's our game plan. Here, what's the center of our circle? Well, the center of our circle is going to be the center of these 2 points. Halfway between 2 and -2 is, of course, 0. And halfway between 3.5 and 1/2 is +2. So the center of our circle is at 0, +2. Next, what's the formula for our circle? So the formula for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus some k squared equals your radius squared. Okay? And we have the center. So far, for the equation of our circle, we have x squared plus, we're not subtracting anything because the center of our circle is 0. So x squared plus y minus 2 squared, and it needs to equal our radius squared. So what's the radius of our circle? Well, so for the radius of our circle, we can kind of construct a triangle, a right triangle, and then find our radius. So what's the radius of our circle? Well, this point is, of course, -2 and 1/2. So from -2 to 0, That's a distance of 2. So I'm going to pull this right triangle down. So we have, oops, let me erase this. Dang, this is probably the hardest practice test I've ever done. This test has a lot of difficult problems. So this right triangle, this of course is a distance of 2. This has a height, we're going from a half to 2, so this has a height of 1.5 or 1.5. So what's our hypotenuse? Well, we have 2 squared is 4, plus 1.5 squared, or 1.5 squared, that's going to be 2.25, equals our radius squared. So our radius squared equals 6.25. So now we can plug in 6.25 into our circle equation. And then lastly, we can plug in y, or we can plug in 0 for y as we're solving for p. So if we plug in 0 for y, we'll have x squared plus negative 2 squared equals 6.25. So we have x squared plus 4 equals 6.25. Here. Then we can subtract the 4 from both sides to get x squared equals 2.25. And then we can take the square root to see that x equals plus or minus 1/2. So since p is positive, our answer is going to be 1/2. So there we go. That problem was a doozy. I keep saying this is as hard as it gets, and then we see other problems that raise the bar a little bit more. This was definitely an involved problem. Let me know down in the comments if you're able to solve it on your own. I hope this explanation made sense. Really what we need to know for this problem, we need to know the equation for a circle and how that's made. And it's made by using the center of the circle and your radius. So we found what the center of our circle was, and then we formed our circle function. And then we just had to plug in 0 for y and solve for x. All right, number 36. Number 36. Okay. If xy is the solution to the system of equations, what is the value of y over x? Okay, so notice how this top question gives us 7y equals 11x. So let's just take this, 7y equals 11x, and let us divide both sides by 11x to give us 7/5 over 11x equals 1. And then we can simply multiply both sides by 11/7, and then everything cancels, and we're left with y over x equals 11/7. So our answer is 11/7. So notice that they gave us a system of equations here, but we didn't even really need to use it, because what they're asking for is the value of y over x. So we just have to use one of our equations and manipulate it. We didn't need both equations. So our answer for number 36 is 11/7. Okay, number 37. 2 more problems, guys. Just 2 more problems. Let me move myself back over. Number 37. The salesperson wants to increase her average sales per day by 20% given the information in the chart above. What should her daily sales average be for the following week? Okay, so I'm going to have to erase all this work in the circle problem. Let's erase all of this so we can see our chart that I had covered up. Okay. Okay. So we are told that she wants to increase her average sales by 20%. Given the information, what should her daily sales average be for the following week? So let's look at our chart. Our chart gives us our daily sales. and it gives us the total weekly sales at the end of each day. So at the end of this week, she sold $22,450 worth of stuff. So if she wants to increase that by 20%, well, what's 10%? 10% would be $245. So 20% will be $490. Okay, she wants to increase by 20%, so that's an increase of $490 to her weekly total. And you can sum these, and whenever you sum them, what do you get? You get 0, 14, carry the 1, 9, 2. So she wants her next week's total sales to be $2,940. But what does the question ask for? It says, given the information, what should her daily average sales be? So from the chart, we see that she works 5 days a week, so we need to divide this value by 5. And whenever we divide it by 5, what's our output? Well, 5 goes into 29 5 times with a remainder of 4. 5 goes into 44 8 times with a remainder of 4. And then 5 goes into 48 times with a remainder of nothing. So her average sales needs to be $588 each day in order to increase her average by 20%. Number 38. This is the last problem, guys. Give yourself a big pat on the back. I'm not kidding. This is definitely the hardest practice test I've ever done. So if you're watching one of these practice tests, I hope it's this one. Great job, guys. Seriously. Number 38. During her 8-hour shift on Wednesday, the salesperson sold items that had an average price of $8.10. To the nearest tenth of an item, what is the number of items she sold per hour on Wednesday? Okay, what is the number of items she sold per hour on Wednesday? So let's go up to our chart. Let's look at Wednesday. Wednesday, she had daily sales of $350. So go into the question at hand. Okay, she sold $350. And also we're told that she worked an 8-hour shift. So she sold $350 in that day. However, we are asked, what are we asked for? The number of items she sold per hour. So we need to take the $350 that she made or sold worth of merchandise in that day and divide it by the number of hours she worked. So 350 divided by 8 is what? Well, 8 times 4 is 32. 8 goes into 30 3 times. And we have a remainder of 6. So this is 43 6/8, which is 6/8 is 3/4, which is 0.75. Okay, so 43.75 is what? This is how much she sold per hour. Now we want to know how many items she sold. And if the average item cost $8.10, well, then we'll divide by 8.1. So move your decimal over. Move your decimal over. 81 goes into 437 5 times. That's 5 times 80 is 400, and 5 times 1 is 5, so this will be 405. Then we can subtract. We'll have a 2 and a 3 and a 5. And 81 goes into 325 4 times. 4 times. Don't forget your decimal. And we subtract, and that's 324, of course, and we have 1 left over. So we have 5.4 and remainder 1/81st, but we're asked to round to the nearest tenth, so of course our answer is just 5.4. Excellent, excellent work, guys. Super proud of you for making it through this very challenging practice test. Give yourself a pat on the back. Again, Thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye for now.